Welcome. Hello, everybody. Hello. We are live. We are live. We are live. And welcome to today's Leadership Insight. Why, ladies, women, why bureaucratic leadership? That is what we are going to get into today. Last week, we did cover laissez-faire leadership. The week before, we looked at transactional leadership. And really, if you missed either, please make sure that you go back and check it out. If you are a leader, if you are an aspiring leader, it is so crucial to understand these different leadership styles so that you will know how to flex in and out of these different styles. And not only is it important to know what they are, you got to practice it before you can just say, yes, I have it, I have it, I have it. And so we're doing this so that you really do understand the different styles and you can start practicing now. You do not want to get your supervisory position and then start practicing. You really can put some of these things into practical play in your life, even if you're not, air quote, an official supervisor. You have other areas that you can practice in. And definitely, if you missed it, you can catch it on YouTube or Facebook. YouTube is probably the easiest because there's a playlist of all of the leadership insight, but definitely make sure that you really understand. Maybe you won't remember, for instance, the term laissez-faire, but understanding what that means. That's that leadership style that offers little guidance. That's that leadership style where most of your team is already super experienced, and so they know what to do. So you may not remember laissez-faire. You do need to understand what that leadership style is all about. And today we are focusing on the bureaucratic leadership. It's a style that some love. There's some critics of this style as well, and you need to understand when you should be using this approach, and it's crucial. These are leadership principles that, again, you need to learn, and you do not want your supervisor, your managerial position, whether that's a first line, second line, you want to start practicing them. And if you're already in leadership and you aren't flexing in and out of your preferred style, again, it's important. I see it all the time. I see supervisors having conflict with their direct reports because they just don't know how to flex. They don't understand what's needed in each and every situation, and they believe, well, just because this is my style, this is my style, then you flex to my style. And that is not how it should be done. My goal is to persuade you definitely to learn and start flexing. Our 3 points for today, it's going to be understanding bureaucratic leadership, and then when should we use this type of leadership? How effective is that going to be? And the third point is going to be the limitations of this type of leadership. I definitely want to do a quick roll call. Whether you're catching us live, whether you're catching the replay, let us know your name, where you're tuning in from. We'd love to shout you out. In addition, If it resonates with you, let us know that I am here for that career woman that is looking to level up to an executive level position. Maybe you're not there yet. Maybe your first position is going to be a first line supervisor or a second line supervisor. I am here all day for you. I want to tell a quick story to be able to put the bureaucratic leadership style in your thought process. Imagine a mid level manager at maybe a pharmaceutical company. So, we're going to call this person Sarah for namesake. Sarah's team was responsible for the compliance of drug trials, which obviously it would be something that's heavily regulated. She adopted the bureaucratic leadership style, strictly enforcing the rules and procedures. And because of that, like, that's what she did. It was like, I'm going in. This is important. We have rules, procedures in place, and this is what we're going to follow. The company faced at one point this project that it started to fall behind schedule. And then they were starting to go over budget. And so Sarah demonstrated that we in this team, we have standards, we have procedures, we are going to do this. And through her allowing, or not even allowing, but through her ability to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We know how to do this. We have, again, this particular type of leadership style, we're really talking about there's no cut cards, there's no gray areas. We are, if we were doing I'm gonna take it here. Let's say, I don't know, are there any dancers in the house? If there's some dancers in the house, let's just say we doing the two-step. You better do that two-step throughout. You're not doing a two-step and then doing some form of Macarena, or we're gonna do some whatever. I know my team is looking at me like, did you say the Macarena? And you probably said it wrong, but we're not doing the tango. If we're doing the two-step, we're doing the two-step. And that's kind of the attitude that Sarah did adopt. That allowed her team to really be able to focus, stay laser focused, and they were able to go through this regulatory maze effectively. She was able to make sure that they stayed on budget, so there was no costly mistake that resulted, which is totally different from laissez-faire. So if you caught laissez-faire, you know that's all about let the team go and do what they do. Let them their experience. They can be innovative and creative. Not so much all the time when it comes to bureaucratic leadership. And she was able to, again, stay on task. She was able to make sure that they didn't create additional funding that needed to happen. And this story really highlights when it comes to bureaucratic leadership, it's less flexible. We're not really talking about that innovative style all the time. It's about control, it's about process. And that's the style that you normally typically would start to use. And so our first point is going to really truly, let's take a second, let's take a minute to define bureaucratic leadership. And so, with that being said, bureaucratic leadership is a leadership style that really emphasizes following rules, procedures, established standards. Now, when I say that, there's a group of people out there that they're like, yes, I love rules. I love standards. And then there are a group of people out there that are like, you know what? That's too stifling. You know what? I like a little creativity. I don't always like creamer, or maybe I want a different type. I like flavored creamer. And just know that this is not a one stop shop when we're speaking about leadership, but understanding bureaucratic leadership really is about processes that are in effect. There are, again, those established procedures, standards. Leaders who adopt this style are able to prioritize compliance with policies and procedures that govern their organization. They focus on maintaining control over their team members, and they have an expectation that their team members are following those procedures that have been put into place to a T. This particular style is effective in maybe you can think about like in industries, places where precision, places where safety, like utmost safety matters, consistency is paramount. We're not going to do it this way today. Do it this way tomorrow. Think about, even we gave the example like the pharmacies, things of that nature, again, where we're talking about perhaps it could be repetitive things that we are dealing with, but it's definitely industries where precision matters, where if you make a mistake, it could cost the company thousands and thousands of dollars. And so that's generally the style that this particular style can work well within those parameters. The second point, when is bureaucratic leadership effective? Again, this is like that ideal style for leadership in environments where structure is needed. Regulatory bodies, maybe the healthcare system, financial services. Again, this is where we're talking about we're not really straying. We're talking black or white. We're not talking about those areas where you see a whole lot of gray areas where people can maneuver in, or not always in areas where you can be your total creative self, and that's a welcome. I'm not saying that you can also be in these types of industries and there could be creativity. However, creativity, they may have a section, they may have a time where we get together and we do these things. It's normally not just the normal process that, hey, we're going to be creative throughout our whole entire day. That defeats the purpose of when we're talking about bureaucratic leadership. It really, there's a standard, it's highly effective, especially in certain environments. Again, you wouldn't want this. Okay, prime example, if we talked about like the pharmaceutical, perhaps in last week when we talked about laissez-faire, and again, laissez-faire is the one where your team is doing their own things. You don't have any, like, they're just doing it. You don't know what they're doing, but you know that they're getting it done. You may not want that at your local pharmacy, because we need to make sure that the prescriptions right. I'm going to need them to be a little bit more on the bureaucratic side, because if I go put in a prescription, I need the right prescription. And that whole laissez-faire, do it yourself, do it your way, because I trust you. And as long as you get it done and it's done well, that's fine. Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. Think about even when I'm thinking about that particular style, I'm thinking, what about when you go to the supermarket and you're getting meats or you're getting seafoods? We need those standards. I don't want you to tell John. I don't want you to tell Amy. I'm throwing names out there. I don't specifically know a John or Amy. But I don't want you to tell John and Amy, you get that meat out any kind of way. It's okay for that meat to be sitting there all day. No, 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 no. I need John and Amy to know that there are standards and that there is a set practice in play because for safety purposes. And that's all about why this particular type of leadership style can work in certain environments. All right, I think I had enough fun there. It is crucial, again, when we're talking about this, we're talking about delivering consistent, reliable results, which is essential in some industries where control is uttermost important. Safety is uttermost important. And think when we're talking about mistakes, we're not talking about mistakes that perhaps really don't cost anything. We're talking about mistakes that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's the type of thing that you're thinking about when you're thinking about bureaucratic leadership. Our third point is to talk about the limitations of this particular style of leadership. And nevertheless, this leadership style obviously does have its limits. Its potential to really, it will make some people feel stifled. It will make some people feel like there is someone watching every minute, every second of what they're doing. And so you got to like you have to know that. You have to know your people. You have to know because this particular style generally goes with areas where there is vigorous or rigorous regulations that have to be followed by team members. Some people will find that stifling. Some people will find that you are limiting their creative juices. You are limiting their innovation. They can't think outside the box. Mm, and to some degree, in some areas, some ways that could be true, you as the leader would definitely need to be able to create those other streams of access, those other streams where people won't necessarily find their job to be such control. And so, if that is you, you would just have to find it. However, at the end of the day, if you are in a field where this is necessary, it's just necessary. And so, again, if we're talking about things that are costing the company too much money, when we're talking about things where you cannot cut corners, this is still one of the preferred styles. You would just again need to make sure that you're creating spaces for your employees so that they could feel that their voice is being heard, so that they can feel like they're being seen, that they can feel like their contributions matter. And when we're talking about this, you have to think about when you're using this, it can feel like for your staff members that they don't have influence over decisions, that they don't have, that they just don't have freedom within what they do. And so, once again, you just have to be able to create those spaces for them. And as a leader, you got to understand this particular style, this particular limitation, and when possible, be willing to come up out of this particular style to flex into another style in order to make sure that you are meeting the needs of the people of your team. Again, it's an important style. It's a style that we need to know. We also need to know when we can flex to a different style. And especially if you're in an environment where this is the dominant style. With that being said, I want to invite you all to join our Facebook group, the Next Level Progression Alliance. All are welcome. It is a safe space for leaders, leadership. It is a safe space for those who want to become that aspiring leader, leveling up to first or second line. It's a safe space, and we invite you to join us. I also want to let you know that we have a master class coming up on March 30th. I invite you. Listen, it is time for you to stop skirting around feedback. I want you to be able to receive feedback. I want you to have a different space. I want you to move from that generic old response. Sure, yes, I like feedback. No, I want you to anticipate it. I want you to look for it. And for you, I invite you out. You need to register. It is a minimum amount, $25. Please come on out and get this breakthrough that you may or may not know that you need. And I'm telling you, we are going to look at some things. I am going to challenge some of your assumptions. Bring your questions, show up for yourself. And I'd like to wrap on up talking about bureaucratic leadership. It's a fine line. It's a beautiful leadership style when it's in the right space and time. Also know, as beautiful as it might be, it comes with its own constraints. And as a leader, you need to be aware when to be able to flex in and out. It works best in environments where precision and adherence to policy, rules, regulations are non-negotiable. We're not talking about places where, oh, I can be this way today and this way tomorrow. No, we're talking about non-negotiables. This is where this particular style really excels. It is also important to recognize that as well as this leadership style can excel in certain environments, you need to know your team. You need to know your team's potential. You need to also at times create space for people to not feel the controlled environment of what this type of situation normally brings. And so you need to know, is this style right for you? Is this style right for the company? Is this style right for the area that you work in? And this style does go hand in hand with certain positions, certain things, certain areas. It's a style that you can definitely also learn to flex in and out of. I'd like to end with a quote, as I always do. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Join me next week for more insightful information, great nuggets. You deserve nothing but the best. It is my goal to ensure that you move to your next level and take your career to newer heights.